I'm Zachary. I own Paper Tiger Coffee Roasters here in Vancouver, Washington. We've been here about 18 months. The doors opened in October '09. And I spend my time between roasting coffee and serving espresso beverages to customers here at our coffee house. We roast single origin specialty coffees. That's kind of our focus. So we have a lot of unique offerings that rotate frequently, so customers can try new coffees all the time. We always have a fresh offering list every week. We have a short menu, and you can be guaranteed everything on that menu gets personal attention. And we would much rather have it that way than have 3 times as many things, and nothing can get that much attention because we're trying to do everything all at once. I definitely wanted the roaster to be visible. I wanted that process to be visible. This is a way to show people I can bring out a handful of green coffee and say, hey, this is what it looks like. Talk about the process. This is dried on a patio, that's why it's yellow. This is washed in basins, that's why it's green. It's dense, it's not edible until you roast it. It naturally demonstrates everything we're trying to do in the roast process. Our roaster is a 3-kilo shop roaster. It's designed for small coffee houses like this. It starts off with the roaster heating up to temp. It's gas-fired, rotating perforated drum. The gas fire actually hits the drum on the bottom and creates conduction, like a hot skillet. But it also has a compact insulated chamber that provides convection as well. That's the best of both worlds. That conduction, that hot contact is what produces a classic roast flavor. And then the convection allows it to develop slowly, develop sugars carefully, and not scorch the coffee. Roasting not only, develops compounds chemically that you want, sweetness and the nutty, malty, toasty, earthy character, but it also gets rid of things that would make it bitter and too raw tasting, too grating on the palate. We roast in such a way that from first crack, which about 400 internal, it's about 375 surface temperature, all the way through the end of the roast, the coffee changes rapidly in color. It changes from kind of a dry grass color to a tan, and then into the first crack it's still at a tan stage, and then out of that first crack in only about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, it totally changes from tan into coffee color. And so a lot of rapid changes are going on at that point, and you have to very carefully visually inspect, check out the aroma on it, look at the evenness of the roast, and be sure that you are really carefully coaxing that along the last 10 degrees or so. I definitely roast with my senses. I don't roast with a graph on a notebook paper. It's done with the smell primarily, and occasionally the sight, just to make sure that it's uniform in what I'm smelling. You get it there using your senses best you can, but then you have to take it back to the cupping table. So the roast process and the cupping process are really the same thing for me. It's all one process of creating those coffees, because without sampling it, you're just flying blind in the roast process unless you're tasting and having that feedback loop. Espresso especially is the microscope. It's the thing that allows basically no room for error. I would say it's virtually impossible to have flaws in the coffee when you start. We think about brewing, again, as preserving the best things in the coffee. So with espresso brewing, the grind and the dose are done very uniformly. We're talking about microns, we're talking about very fine gradations of grind size. We're talking about fractions of a gram of dose. And most of the time, we're trying to get consistent with our tamp as well. So grind, dose, tamp, all of those should be really consistent. And then only adjust if absolutely necessary. We have a workhorse espresso machine. It's not the state-of-the-art machine, But if you know how to use what you have, and you know what your tools are doing for you. Our machine, for example, has one boiler, which means that we watch the machine and watch the water coming out of the group heads, make sure it's the right temperature. So you'll see us flush the machine a lot. Bring the steam out of the group heads first until it gets hot water instead of steam coming out. If your parameters are on when you put that portafilter in, all it is then hitting the button. I mean, the brewer does everything else. So the majority of our time here when we're working bar is we're doing everything to assure that it comes out the best that it can. We've done our job really well with the coffee, but a lot of customers want a lot of milk in the cup. So we have to take a lot of care in sourcing and using dairy. And what we're going for, and this is really fun about espresso, is that when you texture milk correctly, and it allows you to pour those beautiful designs on top of the cup, you know with some certainty you're going to get a texture that is like toasted marshmallow, which is mind-blowing. When I had a hot chocolate I made for the first time for myself on that machine, it's just like marshmallow texture on that. So it's a really complete thing of texture, flavor, proportions, the combination, the blending of it in the cup. We work carefully with it. We do the macchiato, the 3-ounce drink. We did the 6-ounce cappuccino, and then your standard 8, 12, and 16, because different people have different tastes for proportions. That allows us to recommend something for a certain strength of coffee and milk together. People ask about how much coffee I drink all day, and I say, when I work, I don't really drink a lot of coffee because I'm constantly tasting coffee. Just like any good chef's going to taste his food, any good coffee person is going to be tasting what they're making and make sure that that's consistent for their methods. Again, it's not saying, I'm going to taste this one before I send it. No, it's I'm going to start the day, taste a few, and make sure I'm on point, and I know I can run for the rest of the day unless something changes. What's nice about coffee, by contrast to things that are mass-produced, is that I am able to connect in a small way with the second most traded commodity after oil. The list that we have of our coffees, oftentimes it has the name of one farm or even one person that's responsible for that small lot of coffee. It's not just for quality that we want to foster those relationships. It's because if people can have a stable agricultural situation in these coffee producing countries, then they have the opportunity to build infrastructure. That's been proven time and again. There are many examples in Latin America, in East Africa, in Indonesia, where the right kind of responsible investment and the right kind of technology and the right kind of ethical conduct when it comes to trading with and investing in those people in those places produces that stability for roads, schools, education of not just agronomy, but how their economy can mesh with the global economy. And those kinds of things are all going on in every last cup. If there are things that people want to know about the things they're enjoying, coffee not least, ask. That's the first step on the road to living a better life and being more responsible with the choices we make and the choices that really do impact a lot of people a long way away. And so coffee is something that should be enjoyed and should be embraced and then recognized for what it really is. And for me, that heightens the enjoyment, it heightens the intensity of the experience, and it always reminds me about what is so beautiful about how we can share through our choices something better with the people that produced it.